folks, welcome to the video. This is Harder Gaming, and I'm coming to you today with a yet another C15 capable solo Pyromancer build. Now, this is quite similar to my other builds. It's just a slightly different look, a different way I've done it, and it seems to be really strong. I have managed, with this exact build over the last couple of days, I've been beating all my best times on doing my solo missions. I mean, it's certainly not world record times. Saying that, actually, I had a wee look online. Apparently, if I'd registered and like recorded it and uploaded it, I'd be in like the top 15 for, what was it, Trench Town, I think it was. Anyway, so it's a very, very fast build. It hits very, very hard. It's got good amounts of survivability, and it's just a really nice all-round build. So yeah, let's just jump into kind of what I'm using, my gear, and let's have a look through. And then what I will be doing is I will be recording a little bit of gameplay, and I'll be putting it at the end for you guys to have a look at. So as you can see, my gear is actually very similar to all my previous videos. I do think that in future updates they could maybe change the other sets, because at the moment the Akari is just top tier and all the others are not. But yeah, let's just go straight. So I've got the Infernal Seed as my primary weapon, as always. This is my favourite gun in the game. Got on it the Wrath of Moloch, which is what it comes with, which is a very, very powerful anomaly-based hit that also causes burn, which is again anomaly based, so it really, really helps with the Akari set. And then I've rolled on to that Fortress mod. Now, again, what I mentioned in other videos, if you're struggling to find that, I don't believe that different bosses have different drops, but just because it happened to me, I'm passing on to you. I have had 2 of the 3 death shields that I've got in this game drop from Moloch himself doing the Frontlines expedition. So maybe just have a wee look at that, run that a couple of times, and maybe you might get something. I got 2 in a single day from him, so you never know. And I'm not going to bother with my secondary and my sidearm because they're pretty much useless. So moving on to the gear, I'm of course using the 3-piece Akari. I have been testing over the last couple of days the best in slot, where they have a different helmet and then they put on the Akari boots. Now, the only reason those people say that that's best in slot, and I'm using this because it's not, is because of the cooldown. You get 1 extra item with cooldown, because the Akari helm does not come with cooldown. However, I am sitting at 40% cooldown. With the different setup, I would have 47.5% cooldown, but I'd lose a huge chunk of anomaly power, and the way the mods work, I'd lose mods that I like with this build. So personally, this is my best in slot, and I think other people have just been blinded by seeing cooldown and not seeing damage. You know, I'd rather clear a room with 1 hit than have to do 2 hits. You know, it just makes sense. So I've got on this the Fire Tsunami, which is the mod it comes with. Sorry, the Heatwave, yes. The Fire Tsunami increases the width of the firewall. It's a quality of life mod. It's a really, really nice mod though, especially because in this build, this setup, I'm only going to be using 2 Heatwaves. So I am losing a little bit of damage from that, but you'll see why I've kind of been able to offset that damage. And then I've rolled on to that the Burnt Out, which is a vital mod for this build and pretty much any Pyromancer build that uses a Heatwave. So damaged enemies take 25% more damage for 8 seconds, and that stacks. So I've got 2 casts, which means that if I cast this both on the same enemy, they take 50% more damage. If you have 3, they take 75%. I don't know, as I said, I've asked it again in other videos, I never got a reply. If multiple Pyromancers hitting the same enemy, if that stacks again, so if you had, say, 6 casts from 2 Pyromancers, would that be, I mean, it would be 150% extra? I don't know. I'd need to, I don't know, I'd need to test that, to be honest. So yeah, that's the head. Moving on to the chest is my chest Akari. I've taken off the mod that you get the 50% cooldown for overheat. That's a personal choice. You don't need to, but that's my personal choice. I like to have my overheat and my ash blast around the same cooldown. So yeah, I took it off. I have got it. I did find one other Akari chest piece which I broke down, and I have the mod to put back on if I wish. But what I have put on is Captain Hunter, which is working really, really well for this build, because the thing with this build, what it does struggle with is single target damage. So being able to do 25% extra damage is a really nice addition to this build. I would highly recommend giving it a go. And it's also remembering that the alphas also are classed as elites. They just don't come up as elites on the map. They don't get the skulls. But I believe for all damaging purposes from mods, they do count as elites. So you're doing lots of extra damage to them. The legs here is my third piece of Akari. I have taken off the mod that comes with it. What was it again? I think it's one of the anomaly mods. And I've rolled onto damage absorber. I would say that this is pretty much a given for any solo build that you're able to do. I have tried with us not on this build, and I really noticed the difference in my survivability. I know damage mitigation is a bit messed up right now, but I would still recommend using this mod. It does make you a lot more tankier, and these days resistance, it's only 10%, but you do stack that. You do have another 20% coming from your skill tree, so you got 30% resistance, which is, I'd say, pretty much the minimum must have these days. 30 to 50% is pretty much the golden area, and then if you can get more than that, great. And then another mod that comes with is a radiation wave, which is actually quite nice. Inflict weakness on enemies affected by a skill, even though you're only doing 2 casts, because you have the wider breadth of attack. You will still be getting lots of people on fire, including usually the boss. Or the big enemies, and if they're doing, I think it's about 30% less damage, which it's pretty nice, and you should be affecting as many people with that. So I would actually recommend keeping that one on. Gloves here, anomaly, status, and cooldown. I would recommend status over skill leech. You're going to be doing lots and lots of damage, and skill leech is percentage of that, so you're going to not really struggle for getting health back as long as things are on fire, where status can actually really affect your damage overall, especially with burn. So I've gotten the Ash increase range, so it's quite a simple mod. It's pretty much the only Ash Blast mod you're going to need. Increases the skills range by 66%, very, very nice. I believe it matches it up to around the same as Overheat, maybe a bit less. And then I've rolled on to that Untamed Power. This is a personal choice again, but this mod is incredibly strong with Akari. So it says that using skills deals, in my case, 40,908 damage to enemies within a 5 meter radius around you. The damage is equal to 30% of your anomaly power, and that is why this mod is so strong, because with Akari, with this setup, I've seen almost 700,000 anomaly power. So you're doing 30% of that as damage within a 5 meter radius of you with no cooldown, and it's activated by every skill including melee. Because I'm doing 2 heat waves, then Ash Blast, then Overheat, then a melee, if that's up to 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 damage, you can quickly see how the damage, for anything attacking you close by pretty much dies. I don't even need to bother with the small enemies anymore with this build. I only really need to focus on the big guys. So that's that. Moving on to the boots. It's another anomaly, status, and cooldown. These came with the Overheat Phoenix Force mod, which works now along with the Blacksmith mod. So earn additional 6,418 anomaly power per status consumed by the skill for 8 seconds, stacks up to 10 times. So that's potentially up to 64,180 extra anomaly power. Now, what this means by per status consumed, because I know it's a bit of a confusing way they've described it, that just means you can do 10 times burn, or 10 times ash, or 5 ash and 5 burn. It doesn't need to be 10 different status. It just needs to be 10 enemies who have a status on them and it's consumed. And with the Master Consumer, Overheat, the skill consumed either burn or ash, status to deal damage. Consuming both at once increases the damage by 150%, which means that you effectively, pretty much every enemy is going to be inflicted by ash or burn at all times. So yeah, the Phoenix Force is really nice, and because it affects the base, it just gets added on and added on. And that's how this build, as I said, can get up to about 700,000 anomaly power. So that is the gear, guys. Quite nice and simple. As you can see, I did manage to get a couple of items from the given items back. Most of it was useless, but I got some that I could exchange for items I already had that gave me a slight extra armor, which does put me up to 129,000 armor. This build is actually, numbers wise, you can't see that my firepower is 107,000, my normal power is 136,000, health is 25.2, and armor is 129. My global cooldown is 40, my status power is 120, my physical damage reduction is 71.6, resistance is 30%, and then quite a nice chunk of skill life leech. These are kind of the numbers you're going to be wanting if you're going to be running solo. So that is the kind of gear, guys. We're moving on to the skills. Of course, I'm using the Heat Wave, Overheat, and Ash Blast. These are my 3 favourite skills. I've used this now for quite a few of my builds. And so I've got Ignite, so 7.9 seconds for Heat Wave. I've got 13.2 seconds for Overheat, and then 14 seconds for Ash Blast. So as long as I've got them, as long as my routine is going fine, I've pretty much got these back at the same time. Which is what I'm aiming for. And here's a tip for you guys. If you set someone on fire and then you Ash Blast them, don't overheat immediately. Give it a second or two. Let the burn go as far down as you can and then overheat. You'll take an extra 150,000 damage from the burn. I'm doing up to about 70,000 to 80,000 damage with burn with this build. Excuse me. So that's that, guys. Moving on to the actual build is here. As you can see, it's another kind of 50-50 build. I've gone up this time. Now, the reason I've gone up is 2 reasons. One, you get a little bit extra weapon damage, which is handy. Also, you get the Marble Orchard, which reduces immobilized kills cooldown by 15%. That's really effective for your Ash Blast, because the Ash Blast has a really long cooldown. The second mod I've gone up here for is the Trial of the Ashes. So enemies afflicted with Ash receive 10% more damage. That's basically 10% more damage to this build, because all enemies, when they take damage, should be ashed. And I've got up here to get the Hot Situation. Activating your mobilized skills increases your anomaly power by 45%. Again, once you've activated Ash Blast, you get 45% extra damage. And then you cast your Overheat along with that, and it's just more damage. You go down here to grab Incinerate. The moment burn ends on an enemy, inflict Ash status. This is a very underrated mod. I've not seen many people use this. I would highly recommend giving it a go. Even if you don't want to follow this build, give it a go, because it's just extra crowd control. Basically, the second burn ends, they turn to ash and they can't move for a few seconds. Even bosses are affected by this. And it just kind of makes sure that everything is either on fire or ashed. And it's a really, really nice mod for 1 point. Give it a go, guys. Give it a go. And then what I've done is I've come down here and grabbed a bit of extra armor. Grabbed this, and then came down to get the Wildfire to get overall skill tool. I haven't been drinking, I swear. But yeah, decrease all skill cooldowns by 10%. Come down here, grab resistances. I've taken this. I'm testing this out. It seems to work quite well. Distant Flame. Increase your anomaly power by 2.5%. Now I've only got 4 here, so that's 10%. Better maths today. 10% extra damage for 1 point is not bad. I was kind of playing about with maybe putting it down here, but then again, this only affects enemies that are below 20%. However, most enemies are either alive or dead with this build. There's only bosses basically survive 1 or 2 hits from your Ash Blast, or for your Overheat, sorry. And even then, most enemies don't survive 1 hit. So I've gone up here just to get that extra base damage rather than extra damage against enemies that are below a certain percent of health. But that's your choice. You can kind of play about with where you want to spend that last point. Then you're going to go up, along, up, and down to grab the Magma Elemental, which activated Ignite skills increases your armor piercing by 45% and resistance piercing by 45%. A lot of people that I've seen when making Ash Blast builds have gone down this route. And I've said it before, I'm pretty sure I'm doing at least the same amount of damage, if not more, but I'm getting all this survivability, whereas they've gone pure damage. So that's why I'm sitting here with 25,000 health, 129,000 armor, 5% resistances, and this as well, Fuel for the Embers, double skill leech when under 30% of health. It's a very, very nice build for solo play and also team play. And when it comes to team play, if I'm in a squad of like 3 of us, I'm pretty much never the one to go down. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm pretty much never the one to go down. I'm usually the one having to get everyone back up on their feet. The only time I ever die is if I get hit by one hits, which apparently I think they've kind of singled it out to being like brood mothers that are maybe most susceptible to that. But even then, I've been tanking brood mothers all day, and I've not died. I've not failed a single mission today. All C15 golds all day. Never failed it once. Even when carrying people, never got below gold. So yeah, guys, that is the build. It's a lot of fun. It's a little bit of everything. Does loads of damage. It's actually kind of shocking when I'm surrounded by alphas and there's a brood mother ganking me, and within 5 seconds they're all dead. Everyone, even the brood mother. So yeah, guys, give it a go and let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. And remember, I will be putting a bit of gameplay at the end, so hang around for that. See you later.